Welcome everyone. It is the 24th of November 2021. This is question time. We are down to the last one of November. We are, because there's only 30 days in November. This is the last one of November, which means we've probably got 3 sessions left until 2021 is done. So if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. You're going to have a ton of fun today. I know it. If you've been here multiple times, then welcome back. Thank you for your continued support, and let's make sure you get in as many questions as you can so we get the most value out of today. Welcome also to all of our viewers on Facebook. You won't actually be able to get your questions answered live, but we will get back to you, so feel free to drop them in the comments, or of course, make sure you join us live on Zoom next time. All right, while we just let the rest of the late stragglers jump in, I want to just get us warmed up and started first of all with one of my favourite questions. I want to know, what is more important? Is it information or knowledge? So just take a moment if you haven't joined before, or if it's been a little while and you've forgotten the answer to this. Information or knowledge? What do you believe is more important? What do you think is going to win the day? Okay, so the answer is knowledge. So why do I say knowledge? Well, it very much comes down to what do I mean by each of these? So information is organized data about something. Most of you will know we are in what we call the information age. That is, with the internet, social media, and so forth, there is a ton of information out there. Knowledge, on the other hand, is an understanding either through education or experience or both. So, it's not information in its own right. It's having that information, being able to understand it through your experience and education, and actually turn that into knowledge, which is what's far more important. Because there is a ton of information out there. As I said, it's easy to come by. Some of the information is good and some of it is okay and some of it is terrible. So you very much need to be able to have that understanding so that you can turn that information into knowledge, and most importantly, into actionable knowledge for yourself. Because of course, everyone's circumstances are different. Everyone is on a different stage on their journey. So it's really, really important that you can tailor it to yourself. So why do I labor on this point? One, because I wanted to let the late people jump in and waste a little bit of time. But secondly, that's what today's session is all about. The reason we do this is to help you understand all the information that's out there and turn that into knowledge, and give you a bit of a framework as to how we do that so that you can go out there and do it yourself. So, to get the most out of today, you've got to be involved, you've got to be focused, you've got to ask your questions and really sort of be part of today to get the most out of it. If, you're worried, well, maybe it's not relevant to me, today's session doesn't matter where you are. There's something for everyone. Now, what I mean by that is, maybe you're a first home buyer, maybe you're a seasoned investor with multiple investment properties, or perhaps you're just looking to rent your first property for the very first time. Today's session will have something for everyone, because this concept of actionable knowledge is useful and helpful no matter where you are on that journey and that cycle. So, if you're thinking, oh, hang on, I'm going to tune out because it's not relevant, I guarantee there's something here for everyone, because this is a framework that expands and contracts no matter where you are in that cycle. So a little bit about me, first of all. It's not easy. I've been there. So those of you that know the feeling of being homeless, you've got a place, you get kicked out, you get a rental increase on you, you aren't able to buy your own home, you're in a share house, there's too many people, whatever it is, I've been there, I've had this feeling. I've told this story many times about being out one night, coming home, not feeling great, to be woken in the morning by the knock, knock, knock on the front door. These were obviously the days when landlords used to come around and collect the rent personally if you hadn't paid. And there was the landlord, and he said, here you go, this is your eviction notice, you boys are out. Now, I was shocked. We'd only been in this place for about 3.5 months. I loved it, staying there with a few friends. I said, what do you mean? We've been paying rent every single month. He said, no, you haven't. You haven't paid rent once. So to my surprise, I found that what we did in those days, we all gave our share of rent to one person who went to the real estate agent's office every month and paid the rent then and there over the reception desk. Unfortunately, that person hadn't been paying the rent. They'd pocketed it and they'd spent it, and there was no money, and we just didn't have the ability to do the back pay. So there I was, homeless again, head in my hands, really, really struggling to find a place, behind in money, owing money here, and it was tough. And the thought of owning a home seemed near impossible. Fast forward to today, and it's a very, very different story. I've got my own home. I've got multiple investment properties. I'm able to make those great memories, have that security of having your own place, and really, really enjoying that, having something for the family, which is what we all want to do. And obviously having multiple investment properties provides me additional cash flow and security. So I eat what I cook. I don't do these sessions. The rest of the guys on the panel as well. We all eat what we cook here. We love real estate. It's what we believe. We've all gone through the same problems, the same struggles that, some of you are feeling right now. Some of you have just gotten out of. Some of you maybe aren't even there yet. So we understand it. I've been there, but today is a very different story. So what I'm able to bring to the table today is not only an understanding of how hard it is to get your foot on that ladder, those trials and tribulations that you go through, but also, how you can actually get there, and how you do it, and how I've successfully done it, and how I continue to do it. And being there in the market obviously allows me to know exactly what's going on and have my finger in the pulse. So, as I said before, don't worry where you are on that journey. There is something for everyone here today. So really stick in there, get your questions in, because you will get value out of today. What are we going to go through this afternoon? Well, there's going to be 3 sections to today's presentation. The first one, the introduction, will be what I call the information section. That's where I'm going to throw a few stats, give you a few themes to sort of get some thought starters going for the main section of today's, which will be the knowledge section, where I want to answer all of your questions, get some discussion happening, and really try to add value to you. And that's why hopefully you are here today. And then for those of you that have grasped what I've been talking about between information and knowledge, and you want to know, how do I move forward? How do I get this framework happening for me? What do I do to be able to fast forward my journey where I am? I'll give you a few next steps as to how I think you can best achieve that, and give you things that you can take home right today and get those small wins. We'll go for, the time now is 2:37. So I'll probably go for about 30, 35 minutes. So hopefully I should have you out of here by about 3:10. Depending, obviously, if we've got a ton of questions, we'll hang around. Those of you that got extra time, and we'll go through those as well. All right, so everyone's ready to go. Just take a moment. This is going to be quick and fast, the information section. So let's get stuck into it. All right, are we going to be sharing the screen? No? Okay. I'm just going to share the screen here for everyone. I do have an assistant, but she says she's not sharing the screen, so it looks like it's up to me. All right, great. Give me a quick thumbs up. You can see that okay? Good. All right, so these is what I've seen happening around the countryside. Hopefully this will get your thought going, provoke a bit of conversation. You don't have to just stick to these topics, but obviously this is what I've seen happening around the countryside. First up, house prices. Have we seen the peak, or are they going to continue to grow? What do you think? And we'll get some expert opinion on that. Loyalty tax, what is it? What does it mean? And how to avoid it. I mentioned before, perhaps you're here looking to rent your first home. How can we make that journey easy? Even if you are a seasoned renter, there's plenty of tips and tricks to make that an easier journey. Has the tide turned? Are we seeing less and less people out there as buyers? I don't know. Let's talk through that. And then lastly, let's talk about inner city rentals and vacancy rates. Something topical, and I know a lot of you on the call today are investors, and I know it's something that we get a lot of questions about. Okay, what have we seen on the auction results for the weekend? Well, it was a huge weekend again. I keep saying this, but it was the second busiest week this year for 2021. We keep eclipsing that record. You can see here there was a total of 3,725 auctions that took place over this last weekend, and a great result with just under 75% clearance rate nationally. So it's really, really strong with a massive number of auctions going on. Looking at the two key markets of Sydney and Melbourne, 73% clearance rate in Sydney, 72% in Melbourne. Melbourne saw, that was the 7th consecutive week in a row where we've had what's called a Super Saturday, more than 1,000 auctions. We had 1,644 auctions last week alone. I think that was Melbourne's second busiest week as well as the national one. And as far as Sydney went, again, strong numbers, little less than Melbourne at just under 1,400. People are a bit worried or thinking, Sydney done and cooked, simply because it was so strong over the 80% all the time. But 73.4% is a fantastic result, particularly given the number of listings that were taken to auction. So those of you that are worried about it, don't be, because that is a huge, huge number. And ordinarily we'd be singing from the rooftops. It's just that we got so used to seeing 80%, 80%, 80%, 80% that people are a little bit worried about that, but I don't think you should be. Okay, those of you that are first timers or haven't been here for a little while, I did talk through this a few weeks ago in depth. Realestate.com put out these statistics to give you a bit of an idea in terms of the depth of the market. I'll just quickly run over it. If you do want to see my discussion about this in detail, because they do it once a month. So once a month we go through in detail, and the rest I'll just skip through. Jump onto YouTube, go back a couple of weeks, and you'll see that discussion. Basically what this does, there's 3 lines. The red line is 2021, the blue line is last year, and the grey line is 2019. The reason for the grey line is to give you a bit of a baseline before coronavirus was ever thought about. And this really just tracks how many transactions are we seeing nationally occurring each week. And the reason why that's really, really important is it shows what we call the depth of the market. So when you're seeing strong clearance rates, big price growth, it's important to understand, how deep is that market? Are we creating these statistics off perhaps an artificial number, only 20, 30, 40 sales, or are we creating over thousands of sales? That's why it's really relevant. And that's why sometimes you do see big swings, particularly in, say, regional areas where the housing market is small to start with. So it doesn't take a lot of transactions to move that needle one way or the other. So you can see here throughout the entire year, we've had more transactions, more sales going through than last year and 2019. To give you an idea, we had a record of 7,755 sales happen just a few weeks ago. So really, really strong number of transactions taking place in just 1 week nationally. The bulk of that was obviously in Sydney and Melbourne. Let's take a breakdown state by state. What have we seen in terms of the increase in listings compared to last year? We're up 45% nationally, driven primarily by Victoria. No surprise there, obviously, given 2020 was a corona year for Victoria as well, but pretty much corona-free for most of the other states. You can see there New South Wales was strong as well at 37%. And across the board, throughout the country, we are seeing more and more sales happening than last year, which is not too surprisingly, but really just shows you that there is a really good, strong depth to the market there. So that's it. I told you to be short and sharp. That's what I've seen. Hopefully that's got some ideas going around with you guys, thinking about what maybe you could be talking about, what questions you might want to know. So if you're ready to go, drop them in the Q&A, because obviously I will try to group it by topics, but whoever's at the top of the list is obviously going to be getting our attention first. And we will try to, as best as we can, get to those who get their questions in first and make sure we answer those live for you if we can. All right. Those of you that don't know who I am, my name is James Maitland. I'm the General Manager here at Salvo. I've been doing this for more than 2 decades, and I've helped create more than 11,500 homes for people just like you on the line today. Salvo, what do we do? People often ask me. Well, we do a ton of different things. We've got a lot of different businesses going on, but ultimately everything we do is all about helping you create a home. So it doesn't matter, as I said before, where you are in that journey. We can help you along the way. So whether it be just renting a home for the first time, right through to seasoned property investors with help managing those properties, or even first home buyers, or wherever you are, or even existing homeowners just looking to refinance their mortgage or get a bit of equity out to perhaps buy an investment property. Wherever you are on that journey, anything to do with creating a home, that's what we're all about. And that is where we can add value to you and really help you through that journey. Today on the panel, we're very lucky to be joined by Greg Arbeck, Jack Jan, and Lucas Karras. These guys have got a ton of experience and obviously really, really strong in-depth knowledge. We're all based here in Melbourne, our local market, so we've got our finger on the pulse. We know what is going on, and we're really, really excited to have all of you on the line today and really get stuck into those questions that I can see on my screen down here already coming in thick and fast. If you haven't been on one of these Zoom things before, how do you answer questions? Really, really simple. The easiest way, jump into the Q&A and put your question there. I'll bring it up and I will answer that for you live. Alternatively, if you're feeling really strong and brave, you can put up your virtual hand and we'll put your camera and unmute you and bring you onto the live stage and you can ask your question. For today's session, we obviously won't be able to keep on top of the chat. Feel free to use it, but we're really just going to be focusing on those two methods to get all of your questions happening. All right, take a moment, type your questions in. I want to get your undivided attention and focus because we are going to be doing the knowledge section now. So if you've still got your phone not on silent, put it on silent now, please. If you've got any distractions, doors open, you're not thinking, you're not looking around, take time to focus. This will go for about 20 minutes. And if the more involved you are, the more focused you are, that's how you're going to get the value out of today. And that's how you really will be able to go out here with that knowledge and hopefully actionable knowledge to get you started. So I'm going to ask the first question to give myself a chance to read through those questions. Loyalty tax. It sounds like an oxymoron to me. Loyalty and tax, two words that don't go together. What the hell is it? Can someone explain that to us?
Yes, James. Put it the simplest way, it is the loyal existing bank customers that have taken out a loan 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 years ago are paying more interest than new customers are. So that's what we call loyalty tax. So it's not tax as the taxation term that people use it. So, you know, the banks try to attract new customers, therefore offering a better deal than what the existing customers are paying.
Okay. So we're typically, you know, in life, we were taught by our parents, and I guess we teach our own kids that, you know, loyalty is a really, really strong trait to have. As far as the banks are concerned, they couldn't care less about our loyalty. In fact, the more loyal we are, the more they charge us, you're telling us.
That is right. So basically, look, the Australian Reserve Bank cash rate remains at a record low of 10 basis points. So lenders are cutting the new variable rates to build the loan books while increasing fixed rates to boost the profits as well. So, you know, it's how they make the money. And unfortunately, if you're loyal, you can't get the new deals that they're offering for the new customers.
All right. So I guess the next obvious question, I did see a few people quite liking the idea of the oxymoron that I mentioned there. So for those that are interested in this, how do you avoid the loyalty tax, or what do you do if you feel that you are paying the loyalty tax?
Look, I think the easiest answer to this is that borrowers need to go through a broker, because a broker shops around to get you the best deal that's suitable for you and the best available rate they can get. So they don't just go to one bank, but they shop around with all the lenders. And their job doesn't end there. Once you get the loan, they will still give you updates with better deals as they become available. So the wise thing to do, the smart thing to do, is always go through a broker.
Okay.
Now, go on.
I think you've got more. I was going to cut you off, but I feel like there's more coming.
No. Okay, so for those people that want to do it by themselves, I've got 2 sort of tips, things to look for and things to look out for. Okay.
Okay.
So
hit us with it.
If you decide to go and do it by yourself, keep in mind that if you got a larger deposit, you should be able to negotiate a better deal with your bank, with your lender, And also, if you got a good repayment history. So they're the two things. So if you've got those two things going for you, then don't be scared to ask, and you should be able to get a better deal. Now, things that you need to watch out for. You've got to be aware of fees, such as application fees, settlement fees, discharge fees. That
Hang on, Lucas, are you telling me banks charge fees? Surprise, surprise.
And not only the bank fees, but you've got the government fees, such as mortgage registration and property valuation. So, there's a lot of things that you need to look out for. And the other thing is, when you get a new loan, just make sure it's got the same features as the previous one, like things like an offset account and not charges for early repayments. So they are the 4 tips for the people that want to do it by themselves and not to go through a broker.
Okay. Let me just say this to you. I know for a lot of people, it feels funny or they don't believe in going to a broker. But I can tell you not only firsthand, but through also watching our team of brokers here in the office, what they're able to do that you can't necessarily do, or what they can do in 5 minutes that might take you 5 days, 5 weeks. As simple as you've got an existing home loan. It takes them one phone call to call up your existing bank, and straight away over the phone for 2 out of the 4 big banks and then a number of the smaller banks, they'll get then and there a new offer to retain you, because obviously the banks know if a broker's calling that you're going to be offering them other products. And, we're seeing people get, 0.3, 0.4, 0.2, whatever it is, % straight away off their top interest rate. So, if you're paying 2.9%, I'm seeing straight away people getting, rates of 2.3%. They haven't had to do any work, doesn't cost them anything, and it only takes one phone call from a broker. So, as Lucas said, that is the easiest, and it's always going to be the most efficient way for you to do it. So don't feel that you have to owe your bank loyalty. The days of having the local bank manager looking after you, knowing your kids and so forth, those days are long gone, and they're not coming back. We're in the information and technology age today, and it's ruthless out there. And the banks are obviously trying to maintain their market share, and they know that at some point you will leave. And if you don't, they're going to tax you for that loyalty because they believe that they can and you won't leave. So really just think about that. It's really, really important. Okay, let's leave that there. I did see quite a few questions coming in from people talking about, has the market turned? Where are we sitting? And I know for those of you that might chat to your local real estate agent, particularly out in the suburbs, they can be saying, it's getting tougher. It's not as strong as it used to be. Well, is that actually the case? Can we find out, is it that there's less buyers out there, or what is actually happening out of the market? Can we either agree with these stories we're hearing or dispel the myth?
Yeah, I think, James, just to dispel the myth straight right here. When you look at the headlines and the way they put it, yes, there are fewer people probably coming to different auctions. However, when you put it into context, there are far more listings. So whereas you would have had 10 or 12 people coming to an auction before because there were fewer listings, we've seen a 53% surge in listings since the same time last year, and already a 4% increase plus 4.4% increase from last month. So to put that into perspective, you haven't got less buyers, you've got more properties. So people are spreading and there are fewer people bidding because there are more properties. Same amount of people bidding. Let me rephrase that. Same amount of people bidding, but over more properties.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So effectively what you're saying, if I'm hearing this right, the quantum, the number of buyers hasn't really changed. We just got more listings, and therefore
Correct.
The tyranny of distance means
Yep.
that where, you might have only had 2 or 3 properties suitable that you turned up to the auction, you now got 5, 6 or 7.
Correct.
So you can really only go to 2 or 3 of those auctions, potentially only 1 if you're successful, of
Yep.
course.
And when you actually even look into that deeper, we're still seeing a lot of properties, from the stats that are being sold like we were before auction. And a lot of the clearance rates that we're looking at between 70 and 75% is amazing. I mean, it's not a case of now the market has died or anything like that. We do have more vendors putting properties on the market, and the same amount of buyers are out there. The results are good, but there's just more options. So same amount of people bidding over more properties.
And Greg, I guess if you are a seller on the line,
Yes,
it only takes one buyer to sell
correct.
your property.
And you want the correct buyer.
So it's not necessarily, bigger is not always better. So just because you might have 10, 15 people at the auction doesn't mean that that's better than just having one or two people.
Correct.
For those sellers out there, don't stress.
Yep.
And I think, so Greg, just tell us, just to clarify, for all the buyers out there, does that mean they can take their foot off the pedal and relax, and things aren't going to be as stressful for them? Or, should they still be working frantically to get their foot in the ladder?
Well, we always say, like we went through the whole thing, always be careful what you do. So it doesn't mean that you just go sit back and wait for the market to crash. That's not going to happen. It's a case of, yes, you've got more choice, but get out there and still find that right property. You have more options, but it's not time to sit back now and wait for things to die. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically do the Greg Arbeck and go at it at 100 miles an hour.
As always.
Try and lock something down, but be sensible.
Be sensible. Well, that's rich coming from me, but be sensible. But certainly don't think that the market's going to crash and you need to sit back and wait. It's not going to happen.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. So hopefully that gives a bit of insight in there, because I did see quite a few of you asking about the market. We might talk about prices and so forth a little bit later, because I've seen a few questions coming up. Obviously, people have been listening to my introduction and saying, yes, I am actually just thinking about renting. What have you got for me? So for those that are first-time renters, or perhaps even people who have been renting for a while, can someone sort of give a bit of insight into, or for our listeners, into some tips, things that they should be thinking about, to make that the best experience possible for them?
Yes, James. You're right, 100%. For those of you who might going to rent your first home, or maybe you already have some renting experience, but makes you more stressful, I'm gonna give the few tips here, which will help you to release from those stressful and make sure your renting process is easier and smooth. Okay, so the tips number one I'll give you is pay attention to the property condition report. Actually, the lots of the tenant complaint and the dispute was happened on the condition of the property by end of their lease. So this is easy to be avoided if the tenant has paid attention on the ingoing report at the start of the lease. We suggest just to make sure you read through the condition report and make sure the report is accurate, and added anything that were missing from the report. For instance, like anything needs to be cleaned, is anything that's been damaged or doesn't work, and just put everything in your condition in your report before you start off your lease. Otherwise, you might just need to responsible for something that's not even caused by you by end of the tenancy. The tip number two I'll give to you is keep the line of the communication open. This is another thing that cause the tenant is more stressful. It's lack of the communication, or we can say sometimes it's very difficult to communicate with your agency and the property manager. Actually, the tenant wants to know who they should be contact with when they have the problem. The lots of the agency, they don't have the proper system to manage the communication process. And therefore, the tenant is very hard to communicate with the property manager and the agency. So we suggest the tenant, maybe they choose those agency has sort of like very efficient communication system, such as some online login system or mobile apps, just to make sure you can speak to the right people. And also, we also suggest the tenant just communicate with your property manager and the agency on a regular basis, just to make sure you know who is your property manager, who is your agency to look after your property. The tip number three is get your vacant cleaner. So this is very important because we're saying like another very common dispute is the end of the lease to using your rental bond to cover your cleaning costs. So we suggest here the tenant that you can use the vacant cleaner, preferably the one your agency to recommend when you're moving out, because they're using those cleaner as they have the list of what they need to clean, which is probably almost like have covered everything. And also the cleaner knows what the agent wants to the job to be done. By paying them to having the cleaning, I mean, the job will be satisfied by your agent and it will be easy to claim back your bond money. The tip number 4 is almost the last one. It's just set up the automatic payments. So we know it's very, very stressful every time you forgot to pay your rent on time and being chased up by your property manager. So the simplest way is just to set up the automatic payment, such as the direct debit, which just make sure your money will transfer from your account to the agent's account automatically every month, just to, stress-free and don't worry about just being chased up by your property manager every month. So that's the 4 tips I'm gonna give you all those tenants who are looking to rent your first property. But I'm gonna give you another bonus tips, which is I'm personally thinking is
bonus.
important.
That's exciting.
Yeah, very important. It's just to make sure before you're renting your property, choose a good agency with a professional, experienced property manager, because this is the way they can limit your stress and make your rental is very easy and smooth, because the good agency, they got a good system. They have the professional, experienced property manager. They can give you some valuable suggestion and the tips like us. And this will make you will happy stay during your tenancy.
All right, I like it. And I think that does make a big difference, as Jack said. You've obviously got to choose the right property for you. But obviously, if you're looking through those agencies that are experienced, that are focused, and particularly where you're looking to rent, see how close their office is, because that'll give you a gauge as to how effective they might be in dealing with issues you've got. And obviously, where you see agencies that they don't have to be huge, but they're more than just a 1 or 2 person business, typically means that they've got staff on call or available over the weekends, because invariably problems arise and you need emergency works done on a Saturday and Sunday, and 95% of agencies aren't open on the weekend, so you really need someone that's got dedicated staff that can assist you during that period. All right, Charlie made a comment that he wasn't interested in renting, so Charlie, let me know what you want to know and we'll get to you. But Jenny did ask a question here, and I did mention it before, and I saw a few others. Everyone seems to want to know about prices. What's going to happen with house prices? Are they done? Are they cooked? Where are we going? It's about this time that the banks put out their last forecast for the year. So can someone give Jenny and the rest of the people on the line that are hanging with bated breath to know where prices are going to the end of this year and perhaps into the next couple of years? Can someone give a bit of a snapshot? What's the latest expert forecast?
So James, make a cup of tea and let's talk about this.
All right, I'll sit down now.
Look, the house price growth is expected to peak this month or next month, before moderating to 6% for next year nationally. Melbourne expected to perform slightly better at 7%, and this is all according to the ANZ outlook. It's important here to mention that nationally we have seen prices lift by 21%. This is the strongest growth since the late 1980s boom we had. Okay,
so we're still going to keep seeing prices go up. What about looking a little bit further afield? Are we flatlining? Are we where do we think they're going to go?
Look, there's no indication at this stage from any one of the major lenders that is going to flatline. Like I said, next year it'll be going up by 7% in Melbourne. The year after that, they're expecting it to be the same or just slightly less, but nevertheless, still an increase. It's like Gregory said earlier, don't sit back and relax because there's more properties on the market, because the prices are not coming down. The prices are continuing to increase. Now, there is, some of our listeners might say, but why are we going to see that little bit of drop instead of the crazy prices?
Are you looking at the Q&A? I was just about to hit you with that. Everyone's been saying, why?
But it's logical. That is the next logical question that people would like to ask. And look, and that is due to mainly tighter credits by the lenders, the rising fixed rate, mortgage rate that we are seeing, the affordability due to this increase of prices that we've been seeing, and of course, the thing that Gregory before mentioned, having more stock on the market. Now, more specifically, James, it's important to note here that we've seen the slowdowns, if we're going to call it a slowdown, mainly the first-time buyers and owner-occupiers, as we've seen the loans taken out by both of them drop by roughly 10%. However, the investor lending is still going strong after more than doubling in the year to May.
Okay. And, we talk about it a bit, and it's for those of you that are looking to hire staff, or you're perhaps in hospitality or any of those industries, will know that it's impossible to find staff. So what about if people want to wait until they get a big pay increase? Where are wages sitting? Is that a factor why prices have been going up, or has that become less relevant with the low interest rates? What have you got any sort of stats you can share with the guys on the line today?
I was hoping somebody was going to ask that question, to be honest.
Well, that was one of my questions, but anyone on the line can take credit for that.
There you go. All right. I'm sure many are already. Look, this month, James, we saw a 2.2 increase in the WPI. For those that don't know, that's the Australian Wage Price Index. Now, this increase brings wages to pre-pandemic level. Now, while wages have increased by 81.7% in the past 20 years, and you might think that's amazing, property values have increased by 193.1% for the same period, and 22% in the last 13 months alone. So if you're going to be waiting for the price, your wage to go up before you can buy property, I can tell you now, you make a lot more money if you buy property and wait for that to go up.
All right, good advice there. Hopefully that's answered everyone's questions there. Just conscious of time, I did say I'd get you out of here by 10 past. We're probably going to go a few minutes over, so hopefully you can hang around. Last point I wanted to discuss for those investors on the line, when it comes to the inner city rental markets, we very much say at the moment that, it's slow and steady. Things are starting to get better. Greg, what's the latest stats out there, and what have we seen? If we do a bit of a recap over the last 12 months, what have we seen happen?
I'll be sharp and quickly. So the most important thing, when you look at it, in February this year, we've had almost an 80%, so 76%, I'm always positive, decrease in the number of stocks available. So put that into perspective, where we had nearly 8,000 properties vacant in February, we've got just on 2,000, in the inner city sort of stuff. So that is actually very good when you look at the figures, actual figures in terms of. So there's not this glut. That glut is starting to. It's being reduced quite quickly.
Okay, and why are we seeing that? I mean, the obvious one, coming out of Corona, but there's other forces at play as well, I guess.
Well, it's rental affordability, James. People were, beforehand couldn't afford to live in the city. So now they're going, well, hang on a second, it's cheaper to rent a property in the city than it is to rent a house. Let's rather be close to the city. And we're looking at that tenants are returning. They're coming in as a result. That's one of the issues. And I think that trend will get even better once the borders are open and we've been vaccinated, all this sort of stuff. We're going to see stability, like you're saying. And I think we'll even start seeing things start getting a lot better.
Okay. So, are we sort of expecting, I guess, the trend for, probably the last 18 months has been people leaving the city for cheaper rent in the suburbs. And that's obviously had, inner city prices, rental prices drop down.
Yep.
Now we're seeing a reversal of that trend. Everyone's finding it's too expensive in the suburbs and coming back to the city and getting a great deal.
Absolutely. So again, it's that combination. We've got now it's cheap to rent in the city, and we've even gone through this before where people have gone during the lockdown, said let's get out of the city, and then found out it's not that great. Let's go back in. Affordability, lifestyle. There's definitely a trend, people moving back in.
All right. So if you are a landlord and you have been struggling, it is going to be a gradual way, and it is going to take a bit of time to get back there. But that's really, really strong stats that we've seen over the last 7-8 months that Greg just went through, and expect that to continue to get better and better. And as I said at the start, slow and steady wins the race. And remember that we always talk about, it's not so much about timing the market, but having time in the market. You'll get through these ups and downs, and it's a matter of staying in there for the long term. And that's where you'll really see your growth get turbocharged, as well as your rental income, start to moderate and even out a little bit. All right, let's leave it there. We've just gone past 3:10. So for those of you that do want to know what's next, you got value out of today, as I said. This is great, but you actually need to go out there and put that into play, be involved, understand the framework we've discussed, and put it to work. So 2021, it's basically done. Call it another week or two, and we are done with 2021. 2022 is just around the corner, and that year will fly. Before you know it, we'll be into Q2, Q3, Q4, and then 2023. So if you want to make a change, you need to be prepared to actually take some action. So, when we look through it, and I've been talking about this all year, and I talk about this all the time, for most of you, what are you going to do after today? You're going to do nothing. Now, what I mean by that is not you're going to do nothing. You're not going to make any changes. You're going to continue doing what you've been doing. And that's fine. So for a lot of you, go out, and that's great. You might be successful. You might be happy with the way that things are. But just remember, if you don't make a change, don't expect a different result. So, if you've been trying to buy a home for the last 12 months, 18 months, you've got to make a change because it's too long. You should be able to get that done in about a 90-day cycle. Maybe you need 2 90-day cycles, but 12 months is too long. So you've got to make a change. So at a bare minimum, what I hope you do is take on board what we've discussed, think about making those changes, think about that concept of actionable knowledge, learn it, understand it, go out and put it into play yourself, and get further along that journey that you want to be. But what I really, really hope that a number of you do or consider is think about an alternative. Do it with us. Go the alternative path. Let us help you. Let us assist you create that home. As I said, it doesn't matter where you are on that journey. Why would you do that? Well, that's how the smart people move forward. They look for others that have got the expertise or the experience that can help them get there faster, quicker, and ultimately they'll be in a far better position. So how do you know if this is right for you? Well, unfortunately, it's not going to be right for everyone. We're not going to be the right fit for all of you. So ultimately, if you've got value out of today, then you probably are the right fit. You've got to be prepared to actually understand things, want to put in the work, put in the time and effort. And by work, not a lot of work, but you've got to be focused. You've got to understand, you've got to be constantly updating yourself. Those people that are saying, oh, yeah, no, I want to spend X, and they haven't changed that in 12 months. Well, you're not staying in touch with the market. You've got to be prepared to change, adapt, and move. And likewise, when prices go down, reduce your budget, increase your budget, move, be flexible, be involved, and ultimately, you've got to be prepared to take the action. So, when things do present them to you, you've got to actually get in there and take the action. It's very, very hard for a lot of people we find to actually take the steps. We say, what are you waiting for? It's matching here. You've got this, you've got that. It's ticking, all the boxes are ticked. Why aren't you taking the action to do that step? So you've got to be prepared to take the action. Now, if that sounds like you, how can we help you? Well, like I said at the top of today's session, there is a ton of different things that we do and lots of different ways that we can help you. Ultimately, anything that you need help with in terms of creating a home wherever you are, we can help you. So given the audience and given the very little that I know about all of you other than the questions that were asked, how can we best help you from here? Well, the simplest and easiest way that we can do that whilst asking for a minimal commitment from you is to catch up one-on-one. So what am I proposing here? I've thought about this and I've set aside time in everyone's diaries over the next few days to have dedicated just to catching up with everyone on today's session one-on-one. So it doesn't matter where you are on that journey. It doesn't matter even if you think we can't help you. I'm asking you to invest 15 minutes in yourself and give us 15 minutes to get a better understanding about you, understand what the problems are, understand how we may be able to assist you, give you a few quick wins, things that you can do straight away to try to, get through some of those problems, and then ultimately help present a solution as to how you can solve those problems that you've got, how you can move forward in your journey, how you can create your dreams, how you can get to those goals, and how we can assist you to do that. Now, if we can't assist you, then we'll give you everything we can, and we can, say that's fine. When we can, come back and see us. But if you invest the time, and remember, this is 15 minutes, you can come and do it face-to-face. You can do it on the phone. You can do it virtually over Zoom. You can do it on WhatsApp, WeChat, however you want to do it. We really just want to get a bit of a better understanding about you so that we can help understand how we may be able to help you with a solution so that you can move forward and achieve what you want to do. So if that sounds like you, remember, it's not a big commitment. So before you tune out for a moment, just think about this. If you don't take the action, you don't make changes, you're not going to get a different result. So how do you do it? Really, really straightforward. There's a link in the chat. If you're on Zoom, you should have been redirected in your web browser to the booking page. Or lastly, if you're unsure of your availability or you want to think about it, which I don't recommend because these do fill up fast, I will send you a follow-up email after the session's done. Those of you on Facebook, I believe somewhere on the home page there will be the booking link. So just have a look around. If you can't find it, just drop a comment in the, or just put something in the comments and we'll send you that link so you can jump on and find a time that suits you. So don't delay, book one of those because I guarantee for the smallest possible commitment that you can possibly make and actually have a realistic expectation of getting something out of it, this is the way to go. Now, before I let you go, I want to just tell you, I want you to cast your mind back to the June, July school holidays. Here in Melbourne, it was cold. I was lucky enough to, in between 1,000 different lockdowns that we had, get away for 4 days to Hamilton Island, fantastic part of the world. And I got this great photo here. That's my eldest daughter, Isabella, there. We're at the top of this mountain and we had a fantastic time. Now, the road to get here wasn't easy. It was, I think, on day 2, and she said to me, "Dad, I'd love to get up and watch the sunrise from the top of that mountain. Can we do that tomorrow?" Now, of course, I said, yep. I was happy, excited. So that night, I quickly jumped onto my phone, Googled what time does the sun rise, and it was 4:45 a.m. Now, my first thought was, I don't want to have to get up early. I want to sleep in. I want to relax. So just as I was about to tell her no, I thought, no, you know what? Set your alarm. Let's do it. She's excited. You can have an afternoon nap. What felt like about 10 minutes later, my alarm went off. So what did I do? Like we all do with the iPhone, I hit the snooze button. 8 or so minutes later, it went off again. No one had stirred. I said, I'm not getting up. I can't be bothered. And I hit stop. And I rolled over and I went back to sleep. I woke up about 1 or 2 minutes later and I thought, no, you know what? She really wants to do that. Let's get up. I woke her up. We got dressed quickly. We ran to the top of the mountain. We got this amazing photo. She had a great time. I'm not sure if you can see the joy on her face here, but it was one of those really, really special memories that I'm always going to remember, and they are this age for only such a short period of time. So, I was really, really glad that I did get up and that I did take that action so that I could get this great experience. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this story is I'm sure we've all had this in our lives where we've had the alarm go off in the morning, we've hit snooze, and we've either not gone to the gym, we've missed out on catching up with someone, we've turned up late to work. It's easy to do. But just remember, if you're not prepared to take that action, do that little bit of hard work, take those steps, then you're not going to get the results. And if you don't get the results, you're not going to get these great, amazing memories, So if you be more like me, get these great memories, have that experience, because if you don't take the action, you won't get those results and you'll constantly be in the same spot. So think about it. I'm asking you to invest 15 minutes to 20 minutes in us so that we can try and help solve your problems, help move you further along that journey so that you can get those results and you can be in a far, far stronger position when we're talking about this again this time next year. So that is it. It's just gone after, 3:20. So I apologize. We've gone way over time. But thank you very much for all of you that have joined us. As I said, I think we've got 2 or 3 sessions left this year. So I'd love to have everyone turn up. We might try and get a couple of special guests on before the end of the year, close out some of those big topics that we've been discussing previously. So from me and all of the guys on the panel, thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to seeing all of you again this time, 2:30 next Wednesday or any Wednesday in the future. So thank you again.